telling you that is that he's aware that what's in front of you is just the patio and the.
All right, but even if he's pulling up a photo, we're gonna have to like comment on it, talk about it, and then
Yeah.
we're holding up people who have actual applications behind it.
We absolutely do not have to do that, yeah.
If you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with him sticking around. And at the end of new business, we could do that and he could pop it up and we could say, look at the guidelines in this section or something, but I just don't want to hold up other applicants.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel fair.
Absolutely.
I had to drive by that house. I'm like,
Hey, Keith.
figure this.
How are you?
Are you done with the retaining wall?
Yes.
It didn't say anything, well, I was okay with that, and then all of a sudden you get farther in and it's all this other stuff he's doing that wasn't in this overview.
Yeah.
So.
But this is just moving.
Place to jump.
Adding some retaining.
It's a very interesting story at the house that.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. We will call to order the July 10th, 2025 meeting of the Historic District Commission. This is rescheduled from July 4th. First thing is call to order and roll call. Sarah, would you help us with roll call, please? Here.
Here.
Gardner,
Here.
Lampkin. Here. Root. Here. Patterson.
Here.
And Striker.
Here. We have a quorum. We have the whole family. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the regular meeting held on June 5th, 2025? And if so, does someone like to make a motion?
I will, I motion to approve the minutes from the date, was it, sorry.
June 5th. Thank you. Have a second? Second. Thank you, John. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Okay. Are there any public comments on the agenda items for tonight? No one on screen? No one out there? Okay. Is there any unfinished business that's not listed?
Nope.
If not, we'll get right into new business. We have 4 applications tonight. The first is 145 Grand Street, which is landscaping. We have an applicant here. Yeah, hi. Come on up if you'd like, just introduce yourself. And if there's anything, we've all had a chance to read your application and have likely been by your house. If there's anything that's not in here that you want to mention, please feel free. Otherwise, the way this works is we just go around the table and talk about the application, and then we'll maybe ask you a question or two and take a vote.
Okay. Well, I'm Jim. This is my wife, Diana. We live at 145 Grant Street. We bought it as a fixer-upper. Something that I should have included on the application, just as information, is we do have a soil and erosion permit. We have that posted in the window at the house, which just describes our stormwater mitigation.
Okay.
What our plans are. I think everything else is in the application.
Okay,
I guess I'm just here to
Perfect.
answer any questions.
thank you. We'll go around the table. Leah, do you want me to start at your end? Any questions or clarifying comments?
Some of the numbers about, because they picture, you know, and it sort of looked like you could see the backyard, on Elizabeth Street. Looks like it's pretty big. What is that paved road? Do people drive next to that?
The gravel road? Yeah, that services, one house behind us. It's a property.
So you guys live in a house all the time?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
we do.
No, otherwise I don't have any questions. I think that looks pretty secluded from the front.
Great, thank you, Megan.
Hi, Jeff.
Hello.
I have a few questions. So I think you had mentioned that you had some work that had been approved previously in a different board. Is that true?
Yeah, originally we wanted to do quite a bit of renovation by adding a single car garage and then a 3-stall behind the house. Kind of in this general area. And for that, we applied for 7 variances. And we received 5 of those 7 variances. Big picture, because we're living there and we want to make it our home, we want to use one of the 5 variances to create like where we enter the house. Currently, you have to take up boards out of the concrete to go down into the furnace room, and it's outside, so it's not ideal. So what we'd like to do is enclose that area to create this little entry area, so it would be this little bump out. There's already like concrete there and some stairs that go into the mechanical room underneath this area.
So is that currently not on your house?
The roof is, but not this enclosed area.
So that's not part of this application though.
No,
Yeah,
That's big picture.
Yeah.
And we have a variance for that.
Okay, so the application sounds like it's a walkout, but it's not a walkout.
Not currently, that would be on our next round of approvals, this door would service as a walkout. And it's just a little recessed well, so that we can enter that corner. But what we're applying for is just this patio area and those steps. This all started. Our foundation leaks when it rains really bad, so we wanted to excavate this to, and I called for a permit, they said I didn't need a permit for the actual water. And then once we had it dug up, we were on the walk and through this church over here, the science. I forget that.
yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, they have something very, very similar to this where it kind of is terraced and kind of has a full walkout. And we thought, man, that would be kind of cool back there and give us a little privacy. So that's where the idea came from. And we wouldn't be going all the way down to the basement floor. We're only going down just a few feet. That's why these stairs would have to come up to service that area.
So,
So the landscaping that you've done, the digging was for the water.
That's what, yeah, that was. Yep.
So part of this is kind of already started.
We do have some sand excavated, yes. Yep.
My comments or concerns would be that it feels a little bit like putting the cart before the horse. Only because what's shown on the plan is not what the existing space looks like. So I would love to see, I guess, a more thorough submission, and maybe I'm not saying this correctly, but like if your plans normally in a construction project, the landscaping is the last things, right?
Understood.
So when we make an assessment on change to a property that's in the historic district, it's always, you know, based on we want to make sure that a non-contributing property doesn't become more non-contributing, you know, with changes that are being made. So on this drawing, you know, the way that this is looks really nice, but that isn't the way the house is currently, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's my, I guess, that for me is the flag that is raised, because the exterior elevation doesn't have the windows, it doesn't have the water current. That's my
Yeah,
assumption.
I get it. Can I ask one question, Megan, while we're with you? So if I said that another way, it would be you're excavating and landscaping, but in theory, there's no door, there's no lower windows, it's just foundation,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. Correct.
So, and if you didn't get your other approvals, we're basing this approval based on that.
Right. So from our perspective, like I said, it kind of came about by
Yeah.
accident as we were
Yeah.
gonna waterproof the basement and make our foundation repair. Our thought was, well, first of all, availability. The guy that's gonna do it is available this summer, and typically he's booked. So it was kind of like try to get it approved as quick as I could so that we could take advantage of his schedule. Understanding that I would still have to reapply for another permit for the rest of the building. And it's something that we'd still want to proceed with, even if the door and the window wasn't
Yeah.
allowed, because it just creates this nice little
Yeah.
private, more quiet setting that we could enjoy. Luke, I think I sent you elevation of all the way around it. There's currently a patio on this side and it would lead right to these stairs to provide access.
I didn't mean to jump in on you with that, but I think that's the kind of on the record thing that was going through my head that might have been going through your head, so. Russ?
It's really the schedule and it.
Yeah.
Seemed kind of, like you said, out of order. It kind of happened by accident. And to be honest, we're just trying to make, like, we personally just want to win
Mhm.
eventually to kind of help us with the project, because it's been kind of slow going for us.
Russ, any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. My name is Russ Gardner. That house has a lot of history to it from my family. Anyway, I won't tell you the whole history, but that home has been there for a long, long time, and it's been a simple summer cottage. So I'm very happy to see that you've made an effort to move here full time and be residents of the town. That's great. I love it. Again, you know, we don't talk about zoning, but I am curious, what are the two zoning variances that you didn't receive? Can you tell me quickly which ones you didn't get?
Oh, lot coverage,
Okay,
it's currently 30% and we were asking for much more than that. And the other one was a setback.
okay,
We were asking for a little tighter setback for the garage.
okay,
Those two were denied.
okay. Thank you. And again, looking at the standards that we have to apply to all of our applications. So again, I appreciate Luke and David Jurasik, who's our planning consultant, putting this information together so I'm very pleased to see that you've complied with what new retaining walls and historic district materials need to be. You know, from an aesthetic standpoint, I think this can be a improvement over, and I think it was probably just grass backyard, if I remember right? It was just a,
Yeah, it's like when we purchased, it was like this big
Yeah.
sandy area where they had a pool.
yeah,
Um,
I recall
I had
that.
never seen the pool, but it was just a big circle and there was some stone and landscape. Anyways, it's kind of a mess. And from what I could tell is when the addition went on, I think in the 60s, because there's some handwriting in the concrete outside the addition, 1967. I think my guess is all the excavation for that addition just went in the backyard. So there's this large hump. And it's not very easy to take care of. It doesn't drain real well or properly, I should say. And it just looks kind of out of sorts.
Mhm.
And then part of the application is a shed, and that's kind of perched up on top of this pile. I shouldn't say a pile, I mean, it's lawn, but it's very high compared to the neighbor's property. And I was at the neighbor's property, we were just chit chatting and I happened to turn around and I looked and I went, oh my goodness, that shed is like way above the fence and it just looks hideous. So I was thinking, it would be better down lower by my other neighbor's shed. So it just kind of seemed like it would fit better there.
Well, thank you for being here this evening. I think this will be an improvement to the property. Certainly that's the effort of the historic district, is to, you know, try to maintain, you know, integrity of the district, as well as to, you know, kind of to maintain the quaintness and all the other factors that make this town unique. I think that this doesn't impact, I don't think this impacts on this, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness that has gone through in terms of the application use of materials. So I appreciate the comments that we heard from Commissioner Lampin on, you know, kind of putting the cart before the horse. But you answered that very eloquently. So thank you for your time. And again, I don't have any other questions. I think this is a step forward.
Well,
The only thing I want to clarify in my mind, because this is much deeper than I first read it. Is this excavation the way it is now done, or that still has to be done to clear, to look like this?
Much more
Okay,
needs to be done.
and they just dug up around the house to do the water part?
Correct. I
Okay.
started digging myself. The company I work for, we have a machine and they were like, if you want to use it, go ahead. And so I thought, cool, kind of but that got old real quick.
That's my, Keith?
No questions.
Thank you. John?
Hi. If the grade was not changed, would you still have water problems?
I think I could resolve it by waterproofing and then there, right now, the water in this area flows towards the house off the roof. So I can maybe technically could with having gutters and the waterproofing might fix it. But, and like I said, this was just an idea that came about after.
I mean, the natural materials, that's one thing we look at. What are the materials? I think there are guidelines about changing the grade. Is it more than 9 inches?
Yes.
That there needs to be good reason for that to go below 9 inches. So that's why I asked the question about the water retention and drainage. Because other than aesthetic, that's the reason you want to do it, is more aesthetics than anything, to go down.
Yeah, I have to be, what I say, I'm being very, very careful to say, but I think in the sixties or seventies, when the addition was done, I think the spoils from that project stayed on the site. And I don't think it was ever
What it is.
removed like it probably should have been
Mhm.
to match the neighboring properties. So, for example, there's a fence that runs from the Grand Street all the way back to the neighbors. That's, other than, it's almost 200 feet maybe, a fence, wood fence. And if you're on our property, you can look down onto the neighbor's property.
Okay.
It's just awkward. They have a hot tub and I'll go out to the side to get the lawn. It's like, "Huh, sorry." So it's just.
So there's a lot of contours in neighboring properties.
It is just not. blended
Okay.
well.
Okay.
So I think one could argue, I just want to correct that,
Mhm.
which would be a little different.
Yeah.
And then here, now this is a representation, like, I don't know if this is 5 stones high or 4 stones high. I got as close as I could. I think that's accurate as far as I can tell.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I think the shed move makes sense. So no other questions for
You have
me.
another? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Straker. I was going to mention the section of the standards that we review, which were mentioned by Commissioner Canarsa, are C, retaining structures which present no more than 9 inches of vertical exposure, such as may be used within a garden layout, are not reviewed unless commission staff determine that they will have a significant visual impact as seen from the street or neighboring properties. In this particular situation, I don't think this is going to have a significant visual impact as seen from the street or from the neighboring properties. In the short-term rental, they're not going to have much opinion at all, if any. So I see where we meet that
Yeah,
standard.
even though it's much more than 9
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah.
Right. That, I think that's a good call out. It usually applies to the front elevation.
Right.
Because it changes the streetscape.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions. I was going down the same road Megan was. I just wanted to make sure you were good with if your other parts of your project were to not be approved, that you were okay with this as it's submitted. So do I have someone who'd like to make a motion?
But I just sort of thought.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for this is, we'd like to comply with the fire code and
Yeah.
having more than one, egress. So by adding the door and the window, that would make that lower level comply with the current. So that's kind of where that's coming from. And it would be nice to have some natural light down there. So,
Yeah, I think on your next application for the house, it's a non-contributing structure. I think Megan or somebody said it about our general rule is to not make a non-contributing structure more non-contributing.
Yes.
So as long as zoning is followed, it's at the back of the house, like there's, you have opportunity. So
Chairman
Yes, yeah.
Straker, I would like to make a motion to approve the proposed landscaping and relocation of the shed at 145 Grant Street in accordance with the plans and details submitted within the application materials.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Okay, thanks so much for coming
Thanks for
in.
being here.
Good luck with your project.
Thanks.
Next application is 133 Mason, which is window replacement. Hello. How are you? Good, welcome.
Bill, and I look after the property.
Okay. Thank you. We've taken a look at the application. Anything else you'd like to add other than what's here? Okay,
I ordered the same size, same style, same color. That's there now.
okay. I'll start, we'll do this, we're gonna do the same thing. We'll just go around the table and see if anyone has questions. We'll start this end.
Same everything, including
It's-
materials exactly the same?
Same.
Okay. I don't have any questions. No questions.
No questions.
Russ?
No questions.
No question. Lovely building.
I just have one.
Okay,
It looks like they might be, just so I make sure I'm reading the application right, it looks like they might be aluminum clad now, and it looks like your spec is fiberglass. Did I read it wrong?
The spec is vinyl.
Did you? Or maybe I,
Making sense of it, but I did see vinyl in the,
I believe it's vinyl.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. And is it,
is materiality is staying the same.
right? That's why I was asking if it was, and I think it's gonna look exactly the same, and it's on the back of the property, and it's the same openings,
upstairs in the back. I mean, the only really window you can see is one,
right?
and we're replacing 7
Yeah.
and a slider.
And the slider does not have grids, correct?
No,
Okay,
I'm not a big girl.
yeah. We like that about you. Would someone like to make a motion?
Yep, I move to approve the window and door replacements at 133 Mason in accordance with the plans and details submitted with the application materials.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? You are good to go. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You had a very radio voice on that.
Hello.
Next application is 234 Spear Street. Hello.
Hey.
You've heard the drill at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to repeat hers, no questions.
There you go. All right, all right.
My name is Whitney, my husband Ryan Hurtis Construction. We haven't been up in front of you guys since Old Pike. We did Old Pike Cottages, so very familiar with it. And then homeowner Chad Bassett is here also. 234 Spear Street. You guys should have everything we sent to Luke. Sent all exterior colors, materials, and then I do have the exterior kind of materials right here if you guys want to see colors and smooth texture. And a color sample of the aluminum clad windows, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We started on both ends of the table. Would anyone like to start us off on this one? Questions, clarifying questions or comments?
I have a question,
Yes.
and I just want to loop, well, so I looked at, this is just me bringing something up.
Mhm.
For discussion. So I looked at the original Zillow listing of the existing house, and so the existing house does have the shutter detail. So we're matching the shutter detail on the new part.
We don't have to.
Well, so I just wanted to bring that up.
John has them drawn here.
Yeah. I was like, and this was a long packet this week, so I've
Yes.
been like, I was thinking on things. And that was one of the things in my mind that I was thinking on. I love the. Shouldn't say I have feelings on it, but I think this is a good use of this space. The only aesthetic detail that I was stuck on was the shutter, and I wanna just raise that for the tape. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an addition and.
Well, it's one of those things where, you know. Usually if you have a shutter, you want it to be able to operate, and it would want to close and cover the window. And so these are clearly not real shutters.
They're more like ski sticks.
Right.
They're
So
sticks.
I bring that up because I'm, it's one of those like,
Historic,
you have the opportunity to take it off. And I just wanted to bring that up since we have some folks in John might have thoughts on it in our.
We
Well-
also like to see if a shutter is there, see it be operable and not look, we would lean toward the removal.
so they're on the existing structure. What we've traditionally, just for new members especially, there's on an addition, there's a distinguishing new from old. And there's also, we've always required if shutters are added, they have to be proportional to the window and they have to look as if they could close or have the appearance of being real. That's been fairly consistent. Sorry, Megan, any others? you wanna-
No, that was all, that was my.
Okay,
And you will note on the home currently on the front, on the street side, those bottom front windows, we're going to separate them
Yeah, that's good.
and
That's
keep
asking a
keeping them
question.
out.
anyone?
Yeah.
Will?
I was just saying, did you say separate the windows aren't separated or it's because
No,
the
it's gonna-
shutters are touching?
Currently, those bottom windows on the south side of the house, which is the street side,
Okay. Oh,
they're,
that one's-
they're offset. They're not,
Thank you.
they're not centered.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. This one's kind of a live one. On additions and new construction, the thing that seems to stick out is the massing, and I'll read it. It's not appropriate to construct an additional that significantly changes the proportion of built mass to open space on the individual site. And what I'm seeing is from the streetscape view, the mass of the addition and the placement of it is out of proportion with the size of the lot. That's from a guidelines perspective. You follow what I'm saying? And I can only cite one that we worked on Lucy Street, 333 Lucy, which was that Singapore house, the 1868 Italianate. And all of the addition and changes was clearly separated from the existing structure. And what I'm sensing here from the design that you've got is that you've left the rear garage, you've added another one in front of that, I believe, is the way I read that.
No,
Or is it that garage goes away and then you add the
There is
garage in that
actually-
one? Okay.
right behind
Okay.
that garage, there is living space.
Yeah, I
currently.
was, yeah, I got that now. And so that was the thing that really stuck out for me. Aside from all the little details that we're talking about, I'm sure that the garage
Just the massing.
selection will come up, but it's just the massing is one that I'm having trouble with. And I can only cite the direction that you would want to separate it more fully and you'd want the proportion to be different because it's overwhelming the existing structure from a streetscape standpoint.
Okay.
Clarifying question
Mhm.
based on what you said. That's a good point of placement. I sort of like dug into the old Zillow listing, the new plan, and what I read it as, which correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see if there was a demo plan in here, but it looked to me like the garage stays.
The front part of the garage will be removed. A lot of the footprint of the new is over what is there. The goal is to connect the two structures.
So like the change in depth.
Is not significant.
So that was kind of, cause I kind of was like, is that different? And little, yeah, it's hard to. Picture it, but I.
It's just a
appreciate-
streetscape issue. How much volume are we going to take up with new versus old? And how do we reconcile that with the guidelines? That's my issue.
I like the way it looks and I should have, probably needs more space, but that is a good point. And the one on the side, I just pulled it up, they did the addition in the back, so it wasn't a streetscape issue. So it's like the fact that you can see the spacing and the green.
Yeah.
So, from my perspective, this addition, the massing is one thing that concerns me, but also the shape of the home is changing significantly from its original structure. And this 1800s house, it's a small version, but that was a thing, you know? There aren't very many left, but there are still some left. And this is significantly changing the feeling of that historic structure. And the massing, I think, adds to that. So I'm kind of in a quandary about that because we have to think about the historic structure first and foremost.
And this is, we could have a conversation, ironically, since you guys did Old Pike.
Mhm.
There was a conversation at the beginning of the Old Pike application of whether we agreed with the status of contributing and non-contributing. Because this is currently non-contributing.
Correct.
All the windows, it look like, I won't say all, it looked like most of the windows are not original.
Correct.
And they are different from one another.
Very.
It has old siding and old details. And in the shape.
The
Yeah,
shape
you're
is
right. The
big.
mass is.
I'm surprised it's not.
Yeah,
I'm surprised it's
too.
not contributing.
Can you just go over quickly contributing and?
Yep. So contributing, if it was determined to be contributing, it means Williams and Works in their survey assessed it as having more original historic fabric than not, or detail than not. Usually when something goes non-contributing, there's a house under there, but you can't see it anymore, like of what it used to be like. This one, you don't even have to squint to see like that it feels like it's original, but you can tell a lot of details have been changed. So that could be a route we go. I mean, it doesn't, honestly, I think you're completely right. I sort of thought the same thing, but I went to the massing is the issue, whether it's contributing or non-contributing.
Right.
It is maybe not an issue, but an issue that we should just look at. Like, to go along with the massing, Sarah, could you go to the south elevation? Sorry, just 51. The biggest challenge I have is that elevation. Sorry, not south, go up a little bit, it's the east. Down, I meant down, sorry. Oh, there you go. It looks like we're removing a window on the front to the left of the front door to that vestibule. And then there is no other opening on that entire side of the house. And the neighbor to the north,
East.
thank you, because this is east. If the trees and everything weren't there, that it's pretty open because that house isn't right next to it. If my memory serves, it just feels like this is like a, oof.
So currently there is only the one window to the left of,
Yeah,
left of that door. The other windows actually on the front of the house are buried. They're buried beneath drywall. There's two of them that are completely buried. And
on the street side.
Mhm. It's behind a shower, so that one's currently just covered. So we would, on the front, we're trying to get that window moved over, eliminate the one on the side to just allow a better design inside. The side of the garage, I don't believe currently has a window. Okay.
Yeah, I think there could be ways that you solve that just to break up the mass. There could be, inset shuttered windows that aren't windows that sort of read as at least like piercing the opening. I think maybe to balance John's point about the originality of the structure feeling historic, there is like you are counterbalancing the changes that probably contributed it to being non-contributing, which is if you're moving the windows back to where they probably belonged in the first place, that's a great move backwards to historic, like to what it was. So like that goes in the yay column for me. But this side and taking away that window and having no other openings, this feels really suburban and it doesn't feel like it's helping the massing situation. I do think whoever said it, Leah or somebody, the fact that this is really like this, the elevation from the front makes it look like this, and it feels probably worse than it is. So this doesn't bother me, but that particular one really bothers me.
I believe there's pretty good tree cover there too, along that east side between complete coverage.
Those are, I mean, like that, and we have no point of view on paint because that can be changed. But as I'm making an assumption that you'll probably paint it out all the same. If you didn't do shutters on the new, I mean, technically you'd be allowed to keep the shutters on the old. But that also would distinguish new from old a little bit, which might help the mass. There's all kinds of, I think, little things that you could help with the massing situation.
I don't know that the shutters that are there are gonna be a salvageable situation.
Yeah, that would, yeah. Did you have anything, Russ?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Straker. Full disclosure, I've lived across the street from this house for 60+ years. My uncle and aunt live right next door to Chad and Bob to the east. The house on the corner is the Burkholz house, has been in their family for years, and the house next to my uncle's is the Job house, which is one of the oldest houses in town. So the reason I mentioned this is because back to the discussion about contributing versus non-contributing. When I read this, I was very surprised it wasn't a contributing structure,
Yeah.
because if you look at the house up to the corner, the Bird house, the Job house, my aunt and uncle's house, this house, which was known as the Pendorf house when I was growing up, was Bill Pendorf, and he used to, the thing about Bill is he'd burn his garbage in the backyard and he'd shoot cats. Bill was a character and his wife Val was an artist, and that's the reason why the garage was built out, was for her to have a studio. I mentioned that because there's history there, of course, but I share some of the concerns about the massing. And as I looked at the application, I read again, and I'll read it out loud this evening for those that may not have read it. In terms of when we review applications within, the commission shall also give consideration to the following: A, the historical or architectural significance of the resource and its relationship to the historic value of the surrounding area. B is the compatibility of the exterior of the structure and the space around it with the visual or historical context of the surrounding area. C, the impact of the exterior of the structure and the space around it on the village/rural character and contextual aesthetic of the city. D, other factors which the commission considers to be pertinent. As I read those and listened to the comments this evening, it does strike me that and I've been in that house over the years. It's a small house. It's got small rooms. It's typical of a house that's built in the 1800s. But the visual impact of that house and the plan that's been proposed, it does concern me that it will remove, at least what we're being presented with, it will impact the visual or historical context of the surrounding area. And two is it will, I think it will degrade the village and rural character and contextual aesthetic of that area. And nothing personal against, I'm friends with Chad and Bob. They're great neighbors. But as I look at this in context of the properties around, including my house across the street, that's how I would look at anything was considered for my house too. So.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering if there's another way to mitigate the mass, but still get your square footage. I don't know if it's a dormer situation, different roof configuration, so that you still have that upper story carriage house sort of feeling to expand your space, but where it feels less dominant over the original structure and more
Yeah, it was a really hard roof
Yeah.
line for John to tie together, without completely removing egress to the windows that are there in the existing home.
Separate it. You know, it's a perspective thing. If you look at the existing garage, I suspect if we moved that farther up, it would look a little more overwhelming than it does now. And that's, I'm just trying to say, so where do we go from here and what kind of recommendations can we make?
Well, that's
And-
a good point, because if that were moved up, it would look like a suburban home.
Right.
Like we see those in every neighborhood across the country where the
But
garage.
it's not moving up.
No, I know, yeah,
Right.
I'm
I'm
just
just trying
agreeing
to-
with him, that the perspective we have
Yeah.
to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I do think the perspective of the flat elevation versus
Right.
what is actually there is really skewing the scale.
It is,
perception.
yep.
I think it's just really hard to. Cause it's gonna be completely different, but, cause I had to look at the old house plan, that was like my first thing,
Yeah.
was like, what's happening here?
Well, that first picture with the existing garage, the actual photo at the beginning, shows the depth, right? It's pretty much in line with that. You said just a little bit off from that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's on page 60 of the PDF.
Yes, page 60, maybe Sarah put that up, because it's all about the perspective we're talking about.
Well, and that's a little bit what Keith is bringing up, like where the garage is placed now in that photo we were looking at,
That one.
like that is in keeping this, all these houses would have had like outbuildings of a garage in the back kind of thing. And we're losing that. I think there's a way to not lose that feeling. And I don't know if it doesn't meet your criteria of making it additional living space if you separate it like completely.
No.
But there are ways to do connectors that give that vibe.
But I think this is important, because in the elevation, that existing, little gable on the front porch,
Mhm.
that existing entry, that stays the same, not changing.
Correct.
So the perspective of being at an angle versus being straight on makes that look, it almost makes it look like that's being added to be the bridge, and it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Which I don't think is helping.
I agree.
And I hope we can look at the west elevation to maybe give us a better idea of that ties together.
We have to have you speak in the mic, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I have to pop up. If you're welcome to pop up if you want
He
to.
is not a mic man.
Oh, no.
West elevation, if you take a look at the west elevation, you can see a little bit better depth and north there too from the back.
Right.
Um,
That elevation is a good. And then also, if then you go back and view. And you go and you see that space
Yes.
between the existing entry and then the setback.
the north elevation's really good.
The only thing that I will note on that north elevation is the top right set of windows. Those are going to have to be ordered in there. Obviously, they're not on street side. But that's something we'd have to hand rafter in and then determine what size we can order those based on egress, because we're having a really hard time getting those sized currently.
I mean, to me, this north elevation is proof that you can mitigate the mass with roof lines. And don't hear, like, I'm not a fan of like the suburban stacked roof lines, like gable.
No.
That's not what you're doing, but this, to me, this is like proof that you can manipulate the elevation to not feel quite as massive as unfortunately, the street side does, and I think that east elevation.
No, So you had like a little dormer where those 3 windows are and maybe an eyebrow over the
Something.
garage doors. In the front.
Hmm.
You know, would be a way. I don't know extra.
And that might also serve the purpose of distinguishing new from old a little bit more because it doesn't quite look like you went like this with the addition from the original structure. We usually really try to get you through on one meeting, knowing what
Appreciate that.
construction timelines look like. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'd be able to do that on this one. It feels like it needs one more turn based on this feedback. I don't know if you guys have other. So we haven't tabled one for a while, but I think that likely is our vote so that he could come back with another.
And are you guys going to provide us with what you need to see, or are we just left up to?
We can't tell you
Guessing
what,
again.
we can't tell you what we'd like to see. What we can tell you is kind of like what already has been said about the interpretation of the guidelines. So I think the main themes that were said is the massing feels out of character according to our guidelines. And there's ways to do that. I mean, there were ideas thrown out of dormers separating the windows.
If you can help that south elevation, and I'm not speaking for the group with, but I think if I'll interpret what Chairman Straker is saying is that if you could help that south elevation, the new addition, the garage side, feel like it has one element that makes it come down a little bit. That might help it, similar to that elevation in the back, how you've got.
Yeah, I think there's that. I think we've said there are different tricks you could do on that east elevation that pierce that wall and make it less, feel like there are openings, even if there's not.
Would you rather see that existing window back in there?
Or the idea of one.
Yeah,
We can't tell you to put, I don't want to change
Yeah,
we can't change your inside plan, but
Hmm.
yeah, there are clearly other instances where you've applicants have put sort of a framed window opening with a closed shutter.
yeah, Lucy and Holland Street. Can I just say, I guess if we were going to point you to the guidelines under additions and new construction, I think this says it well. For compatible additions, new additions within historic districts can be appropriate if they do not destroy features, materials, and spatial relationships of the original building and site. And I think that's where we are standing right now as we see the original structure and the new structure, which is overwhelming the original. And I think if it's finished like this, when we walk by, we will not be proud of that in our historic district.
But you are interpreting that as the depth changing significantly, and it's the height that's changing, not the
It's
depth.
just the massing, if you talk to any architect, they can downsize and still try and preserve some of your requirements, such as a living space that is sized appropriately for who you're gonna have stay there, and also not overwhelm your neighbors with a look on the north end, which is, looks a little suburban to me.
The image we were looking at on the screen that was the white structure,
I'm sorry?
is that it? The last, Sarah, what did you? Yeah, was that the Google? Yeah. Yeah, the house is behind there?
19.
Yeah, that tree is,
Oh,
House
okay.
was white.
it's a little worn out looking now.
Okay, I was gonna, now I see a roof line behind that tree. I didn't see the second story of the original house. Sorry, I was gonna say something else. Yeah, I think this follows new construction guidelines because it's a non-contributing structure.
Mhm.
And the massing conversation is still relevant. I feel like we've given some ideas on how to break up the massing on one elevation, how to maybe manipulate the floor plan so that it can feel more in keeping with keeping the character of the streetscape is just what we're looking for. We can't tell you how to do that. All we can tell you is the elements that you might be able to play with to come back. Because it gets into a, we can't design it for you.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that your materials, I appreciate you remembered the smooth siding thing from our conversation at Old Pike and
And that's not even smooth.
what's that? I know, well, we couldn't at that point. Yeah. So I really appreciate that because that really changes the house and there's a lot that is right with the application. Unfortunately, I think that's a big one. Luke and or Russ, keep me honest on the tabling vote or ask for a motion to table because I believe that is, we shouldn't deny it.
No, go ahead, Luke. if you
Oh, I was
prefer.
going to say, yeah, I'm trying to think of the correct wording, whether it's table or if it's,
So when council tables a issue, it has to come back to the council within 2 weeks or next meeting.
yes, I
However-
think postpone is the correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can postpone and have the same application come back.
Right.
But I think ours is 60 days. I think it's 2 meetings.
It could certainly come back before that, but it's required to come back by the end of that period
Right.
if it's 60 days. And council, it's 2 weeks, so they have to come back before unless council takes another action on it, but
I just want to make sure we're doing it in a way that gives you enough time to come back and also doesn't take too long.
Okay.
This is the first time I've seen one of these at a historic district meeting. So I'm not sure of exactly the regulations, but I assume we can postpone and have them come back with the same application, but submit new plans for review by the next meeting or the following meeting.
Sorry, I don't remember that, but we have never postponed.
No,
We've always either voted to table or denied or taken a vote and denied. And I feel like tabling is the appropriate.
We could table and then I can double check with legal tomorrow just to make sure there's no.
Brian can
drain.
tell you in first thing.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Brian knows because he's done it.
Yeah, because the clock starts after this for us as a HDC, right?
I think we should take a vote to table. Because I'm sure that I know that allows you to come back at the next meeting. There's no doubt in my mind. And pick up where we left off.
Or have a special meeting,
We could have a special meeting too, yeah.
so we don't have to wait.
Yeah.
I mean, if your architect can come back with some ideas.
Less.
Yeah, I mean, if commissioners agree to come back for a special meeting to help,
Yeah.
we've done that before and we're willing to do it.
Yeah, I'd have to check with him tomorrow and see what he can come up with. Want to catch him before he retires on us.
And, you know, with that, we recognize the challenge here.
Mhm.
This original structure is small.
Very.
It's very unique in what we see most in the town. And the addition isn't oversized. It looks oversized because of the original structure. That's our problem. I think that's our issue.
I do think that the elevation is disproportionate to what it is from above. That's not helping anything here. Where I would come back to you guys on is that east elevation. I'm gonna try to hold my tongue real well on it, but I just don't see the purpose of adding windows to a side that is not visible from the street. I don't see how that would add or take away anything to a neighbor on that east side of the home. I'm not ever in favor of accruing a cost to a homeowner for something that is imitation, not real, not necessary. that's our job as a builder to advocate for our customer on that. And I just can't get behind putting a fake window somewhere. I'd do another design element, but
You- For sure. And you have every opportunity to come back with your full creativity to give us more ideas. So don't take that, shuttered window as a directive. That's why we don't give you ideas, by the way, that you asked for. And that's why I said no.
Yeah.
Because we don't advocate fake history. We don't like fake. That is just something that's a tool that's been done multiple times in historic districts because it's the right proportion and it can speak to an opening. So that's just an idea. You are welcome to come back with full creativity, but trees die. They're not forever. And a neighbor or you could take all the trees down and it becomes more visible because the house is still there. So that's why our rule is there. And it is a massing issue and it doesn't help the massing situation. So I get it, but that's where we're coming from on that. So please don't hear the shuttered idea as the idea. I think there's multiple ways to address that one.
Okay, and then what are we looking at, or would we just hear back from Luke on when we would need to have this back in, the information back into you by and the plans adjusted?
We can try to,
I can make just a note on the procedure, because you questioned it earlier. The decision, you have 60 days to act, basically.
that's what I thought.
The next regularly scheduled meeting is the 7th. I need an application, or I need plans in. If it's a new application, I need it in 10 days before. I've never had a application revision such as this, but 10 days would be pretty typical for any major changes. Obviously, in this case, it's probably not a major change. It's just it's some structural changes for massing.
So that would, if we look at the calendar.
Our next regular meeting is until the 7th of
August 7th, right.
August.
And just in the interest of transparency and flexibility here, we could also, as we did for this month, change the meeting to the 14th to give a little bit of extra time too.
Of August.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They want less time.
Yeah, we're not necessarily asking for, I think this is achievable in that
So
time
if we
period.
did it on the 31st, a Thursday, the 31st, and you back up 10 days, you would have to have it by the 21st. That gives you
So you're
tomorrow.
changing the meeting from August 7th to the 31st?
Oh, you're asking for a special meeting. I'm offering dates.
I wasn't sure if you want a special one or,
So you have two options. You have two options. Our next meeting is on August 7th.
Yep.
Would you prefer that, or would you like a meeting before that where all of us agree to do a special meeting?
is there any possibility we can have an opportunity to check with our architect to see what he can do and then
We
get back with
can.
Luke tomorrow?
Sure. And then you can
Helpful.
Let us.
try to get all of us back in one to
Absolutely.
agree.
Sure. Yeah,
I
can
guess
do
it's
that.
an email chain to see what we're able to do.
Sure.
Photo of the existing home and then a dimension of like the height of the roof at that porch and then the height of the roof at that garage. So we can get an idea of like differential and perspective, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Maybe that's helpful, I don't know, but it could be. Right, like, oh, it looks shorter, but it's,
Yeah, or if the architect's able to do like a 3/4 view render, that might help the case.
Okay.
I would sort of, as a working idea, try to do it on the 31st. I don't know what, we need to plan for what the city has going on too, at 6 o'clock on a Thursday.
In looking at the calendar, there is nothing at 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 31st.
Okay, maybe that's the working date and you guys can check with your architect if you're able to apply on the 21st. How do you guys feel about the 31st if we can hold that since we're all here? Okay. Let's try for that.
One more thing, just to make sure there were
We have
no
to
other
vote.
questions about any other materials or anything. The windows are simulated divided light. the
Yeah, that was the
siding.
shocker.
Yeah, I mean, I
But you
think,
follow the guidelines.
yeah, so everything, all we need to do is handle this massing issue, I think.
Yeah, the other thing, and again, getting back to the what's my terminology here? The visual, village or rural character and contextual aesthetic of the city. If you look at this and then you look at what they proposed for the barn doors, I mean, they look like barn doors, I know they're not. But I would prefer to see it keep what we currently have, not, because that changes, in my mind, that changes it a lot. The visual, so if you go back to 60, please. The PDF, no, you're fine. Yes, yeah. 60, please. Yeah, I had no question about the materials. You know, especially now that I know that you were the architect on Old Pike. I mean, that was a wonderful job. So I don't have any questions about that, but here.
Could I add one thing though, but does that help it differentiate?
Old from new.
That's how I looked at it.
Very much open to garage door style. It's not, it doesn't have to be that. We went through a couple different ones that was just kind of a nice nod to the structure.
Does anybody?
Yeah, I didn't look as closely at that as I did as the materials, just because if the architecture has to change, I didn't feel like that would be a big change if we didn't agree on the next time that, I mean, I err on the side of garage doors feel like they need to be modest. And that doesn't feel as modest to me.
Yeah,
is
that's a great way to
what-
put it, Chairman Stricker. Thank you again.
But I think in the spirit of like, that could help, you know, some other opening detail could help with what you're trying to accomplish. So maybe leave that one for the next time. Like obviously, if you were to have a frosted glass, modern aluminum door, that wouldn't feel right, but. Okay, do I have a motion? Somebody like to make a motion to table? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this?
And that's table into the 31st, or we're not sure?
I don't,
Let us know.
I don't think,
I can
yeah.
get the John tomorrow on that.
I think, why don't we, in the discussion, say that we will determine either a special meeting or a future meeting within 60 days. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is signs. You want me to kick us off there?
Sure.
Yeah. So at the last meeting, obviously, we had a very brief, quick discussion that the group sounded like they wanted to have signs on the agenda. I think the main point is that we have 2 historic district signs. And so some of the questions were obviously, is that enough for distinguishing where our historic district is? Do they maybe need to be revamped? And are there some recommendations you would want to make to City Council? Obviously, if a update is something you would want to do, essentially you would make a recommendation to City Council to state that you want that. But also I did note in here that City Council is currently considering a rebrand. And that might be poignant to wait and see what happens there, but obviously.
The city is considering a rebrand?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's something that's in their priorities for the year.
Sorry, this
So-
is entrance signs, right?
Yeah, this is our historic district signs. I should have I took a picture and I meant to include
That's
it in the
okay.
packet and I apologize. They're the very simple brown signs
Yeah.
that, yeah,
I
there's
was-
2 of them. When you come in down Lake Street, you'll see it on the right. It says historic district.
They don't really grab your attention.
No,
So-
they don't. If you
My
think
understanding
about-
is that they're a state regulated sign, so
Yeah.
they're not the prettiest thing in the world.
Are we just doing open discussion now?
Well,
Is it a requirement to have a historic district sign? That's the first thing is, are we required to have one or is it just a nice to do?
I believe there are requirements state mandated.
I don't know. I think it's a,
My thought is, so what? Let's not have one.
well, I was
There's
confused.
enough signs around here.
I was initially confused because there are signs, I guess, probably in the,
There's
in,
signs.
Because, yeah, we should have signs, because people in the town, I mean, I think it's cool that there's a historic district.
I was trade off some signs that we think you shouldn't have in the historic district.
Okay, well,
I mean, yeah,
let's center this conversation. Sorry, I brought it up because there are staff approvals in here of signs and I was confused, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, sorry.
That's why I wasn't sure what we were talking about. We have talked about for over a year, the idea to celebrate the entrance markers of the district so that people knew they were in a district, which would help us all. Both to celebrate what we have here and to make sure people knew they were within one and had a better idea of what the rules were, or at least like, maybe I should check before I take away my front door. So that's the context for this. It was on our strategic plan, kind of our goals, which kind of predate a few of us. In parallel, I didn't know about the city rebranding until I saw this, but after our last meeting, we did want to put this back on the agenda. I reached out to Andy Dull at Concept A. Concept A is the company that does the Saugatuck Douglas CBB work. And not even knowing that the city was maybe doing that, somebody needs to design something if we want something to change. And somebody needs to pay for something. And so I simply reached out to say, is this something you would be interested in doing? I don't know what the creative brief is for this yet, of what we're trying to accomplish, other than something that does what I just said of celebrating blah, 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 blah. So we would want you to create a scope, create a process, and put a budget to this. And then I don't know who pays for it. So there's all that would have to happen, assuming we continue down the road of agreeing that we need or would like to have signs that celebrate the entrance in 2 spots.
So you're speaking of just what you were just saying was for this sign only, not for all of.
Correct. Just
have your own
the sign
design.
coming in Holland Street and replacing the brown sign, and the sign in front of Hotel Saugatuck coming in on Lake Street to replace the brown sign.
So you want exclusive rights to the historic district sign?
Well, something that's,
I mean,
I think
we'd look at it and we would be the ones in charge of what it ultimately looked like.
I don't want to put words in your mouth or anyone else's, but I think the general feeling has been those brown signs feel institutional and like Michigan Department of Transportation signs. So could we do, yeah, could we do better?
Yeah.
I think was the goal.
Is the guidelines that we only think we need to, and that's all you're worried about? Cause I'm gonna go back, like, I think about when people look at houses, they need to know they're in a historic, and does 2 do it? And
Chicago in the neighborhood.
it's, yeah, like Oak Park, whatever.
Yeah, I get you back there, a lot of signs. Putting more signs, but I think these are real signs to have.
And Grand Rapids, of course, in the Heritage Hill
Heritage Hill.
District, they have medallions and a lot of cities do that too, so.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I weigh in on this?
Please.
I would not wait on council for the rebranding. That will be probably a 2-year project. So, and again, it's a priority, but it's not at the top of the list of priorities. And I would even personally say that I don't think that the Historic District Commission would necessarily have to be part of that branding process, because we're different. You know, this is different. We're simply upgrading something we already have. Those signs, I think, are original to the district formation back in 1985, 86, whatever it was. So they're historical in their own nature. Maybe they're protected. But having said that, to the points that were made, I think it's important to celebrate the fact that we have a historic district. People come here and they, you know, there's something we're trying to protect here. Just in our conversations tonight, there's a lot of things that we have to consider. In my mind, I wouldn't make this terribly difficult. I mean, I think about the city of Holland. If you go down Pine, you'll see they have them on large poles, but they're on sidewalks too, so people can stop and read them. It's a history of the historic district. I'm not necessarily sure we should go that route, because then you can have people stopping on Holland Street, don't stop there. And so I think it's just important for us to mark the boundaries. And if we go further down the road and say we want to have medallions on homes for those that maybe choose to be participating in that, that'd be great. I think my idea initially, when you first mentioned, was that let's just raise this a little bit.
Yeah, I would, I agree with not waiting on the city branding thing, because I don't think this should be branded. I think that becomes obsolete really quickly. It's sort of like an Olympic logo. It is very much of the year that, and I don't think that's what this should be. It feels like I'm wearing my kind of professional hat for a second. The brief for Concept A or whoever we would ask to submit a proposal for this would be create something timeless that celebrates the integrity of the historic district, not rebrand the historic district. So I'm happy to pursue that and just get an estimate. And then we can work with council on, like, we never spend any money. This
Yeah.
group, we have money to
Yeah, and
spend.
budget wise, there is money that is budgeted in this particular.
Right.
I call it a cost center, but for the Historic District Commission. The city, I don't see where the city would stand in the way of spending. And this is not going to be a 5 or 10 figure project, right? As a matter of fact, if you just Google historic district signs and bring it up, you can see there's plenty of examples that we can build off of, just to get ideas. And I'm sure some of these are many just off the shelf. You just have to decide what you want to have on them and have some discussions around colors and things like that. But to me, I don't see this as being a difficult project.
Yeah.
And we go much further as it was suggested in the memo, but I think at this point, we're just interested in the only,
I'm happy to just get a cost from Andy and we can put it on the agenda for next month and write a brief. I think it's important for that brief to be in the public record. And if somebody wants to join based on reading the agenda and have a perspective on it, I think it's important for residents to do that, if that's okay with you guys. That would also give the opportunity to do pros and cons of different approaches.
Mhm.
Like, I would not be a fan of like old historic district effect, like, squirrely, whatever, like that doesn't feel like what we're trying to do. So I think first crafting a strategy and asking a design professional to give us ideas and then we could talk about it would be probably the right way.
the only other point I would add, thank you, is do we want one at another entrance to town where appropriate? And I'm thinking about Allegan.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be in scope, right?
Yeah.
Because we got the sign and then where is it gonna be and what's it gonna say?
Yep.
And if you can trust AI, it doesn't appear that the state of Michigan codes require districts to have signs, though they highly recommend it for some of the reasons we've been talking about.
Cool. Okay.
Thank you for putting this on the
Yeah.
agenda again.
Yeah.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Luke. Is there anything you want to mention on administrative approvals?
Nope, pretty simple stuff.
Okay. Is there any communication?
Also, no.
Are there any public comments? Anybody on the screen? Any other commission comments?
I would just add that in my update to the council on Monday, I will mention, just to give them a heads up on this sign
Okay, cool.
topic.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks all.
Thank you.